Message from Sunnahfollowers. This is from Sheikh Solid. We need to unite. Sisters, wear your hijab. Wear your beards. Be proud of your beards. Stay home, stay in your home. Stand up, unite, and stand for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's right, Solly. We all should stand up in solidarity, not transgressing the limits of the law, but standing together with patience and understanding. This is Sunnahfollowers.
With dignity, humility, and balance.
If you want to learn about how to balance and maintain your faith every day, you need to be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, being taught by Ustad Shiva, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Hope to see you there, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yusuf and this is you. And if you are benefiting like we are from the classes and the ongoing programming and tuning into the Sunnahfollowers, please donate. Let this be an ongoing sadaqah jariyah on your behalf. You're helping the kids, the converts, and everyone seeking knowledge. And it's a wealth of information every day you tune in. Don't forget, you are being rewarded for your generous donations to keep this programming on air. You know, just like what you're hearing, put your dollar where the dollar's at. Right here on Sunnahfollowers. Don't forget, donate. Right here to Sunnahfollowers and Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Listen, we are in dire need of donations to keep these shows running and available for you 24/7. So that means when you're in the car, it's available for you to listen to. Whether you're at work, streaming, playing a game, it's available for you to listen to. Rowing your deed and learning about the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful different topics of Islam. Listen, one of the heaviest deeds that could be placed on your scale on the Day of Judgment is sadaqah jariyah. Yes, I know, I'm trying to build deeds daily. So you can too. So listen, feel free, and please, from the bottom of your heart, donate to this wonderful cause, wonderful website and platform to continually push out shows that will benefit you and the Muslim Ummah. Yes, you can donate by going to the Sunnahfollowers.net website, pressing the Donate tab. You can also scan the QR code in YouTube on the far left top of our videos that are streaming. Listen, guys, this is very important, and take this as important. We want to keep this programming available for you 24/7 so that you have access in your car, anywhere you choose to tune in to this wonderful programming. Yes, guys, it's all at your disposal. So listen, feel free to donate. Once again, remember, sadaqah jariyah, one of the heaviest deeds on your scale on the Day of Judgment.
There are so many things going on around, you must take heed. It's been written and prophesied about, so you must believe. Not everything that glitters is gold. Pay attention as it's been told.
Join us every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, with Brother Yusuf as he tackles and breaks down current events, current news, and politics, and the Islamic Ummah. Please join us, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
His names, we need to know about them, how to apply them, ponder the meanings behind them.
New class alert! Sunnahfollowers presents the names of Allah. Please join us every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard with Sister Samar, streaming on all major platforms, right here, channel Sunnahfollowers.
You will make it through. The fitra is is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
Okay, inshallah, everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook, on LinkedIn, everyone can inshallah see me on YouTube. Can you hear me on YouTube too? Sister Samira. Sister Samira? Assalamu alaikum. Sister Margaret, Samira, can you guys see me and hear me on YouTube? Inshallah. Okay, mashallah. And for those of you who are on there you go. Those of you who are on Bigo, I want to remind everyone who's watching me on Bigo, please make sure that you guys join. Open up a tab on YouTube. If you open up a tab on YouTube, inshallah, you'll be able to watch me live and see the PowerPoint that I'm also using, because on this platform they will not allow me to stream my self live on this platform. So please open up a tab on YouTube so you can also watch me live and see the PowerPoint that I am using and all of that. And also, before we get started, let everyone know that's in the Bigo room. I'm going to keep the room open after my class, because right after my class, we have another lecture with Brother Youssef. Brother Youssef is going to do this week's news in review. He's going to speak about the news that's happened this week in review. And he's going to go over the news in review with you guys, speak about what's been happening around the world from an Islamic impact, Islamic perspective, and how that impacts us as a nation. So that will be after my class. I'm going to keep it open, and I'm going to have Sister Mina, inshallah, be here to moderate the room, because I have to go and pick up my grandson, inshallah, and bring him over to my house for this weekend. So please make sure that you guys behave and stuff in this room with Brother Youssef. So, and I want to wish everybody a happy Eid. This is our day of Eid, our day of celebration. As all the new shahadas know, we only have 1 day, 2 days of celebration, the Eid al-Adha, the Eid al-Fitr, and that's it. This was the Eid al-Adha. I want to wish everyone a happy Eid al-Adha. And one of the new shahadas asked me a question. I'm going to talk about that tonight, because tonight is my Islam Q&A show as well, at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I should be back home at that time. At 9:30 Eastern Standard Time is my Islam Q&A show. Make sure you guys join. You can ask me any questions you have about Islam, and I'll answer. And if there's a question that I cannot answer, I will contact Sheikh Abu Ataya, who's one of the scholars of the ulama, who will inshallah be able to answer for you if I cannot answer. But I'm going to answer this one. One of the new shahadas asked me, Sister Layla, how many days is the Eid? The Eid is only 1 day. There's only one Eid. The Eid al-Adha is only 1 day. The Eid is only 1 day. Okay, but you know, most people celebrate it for 3. And I can just tell you, it was during the Caliphate. During the Caliphate of Ali, radiallahu anha, when Ali became the Caliph over the people, that's when, and because the Muslims were going through so much battle, they were fighting in so many wars. When the Eid came around, Ali allowed the people to celebrate the Eid for 3 days. He allowed them to have 3 days of celebration because they had went through such an intense battle, an intense war. But how many days is the Eid? It's only 1 day, technically. But, you know, a lot of people allow more days to celebrate. Ali allowed them to celebrate it for 3. If you go to some of the Muslim countries, they allow more days, 5 days or whatever. But to answer the question, it's only 1 day, 1 Eid, okay? 1 day. But that's why they do 3 or more. And if you're here in America, your masjid may pick a day when most of the people are off from work. Because, you know, America is not a Muslim country. America has its own holidays. So your community, your Islamic community is probably trying to schedule a day which most of the people are off from work. So that's probably why, Sister Amatullah, that's probably why your community has scheduled the celebrations, not the Eid prayer, but they've celebrated the festivities to be on Saturday or Sunday or something like that, because when the people are off from work. Okay, you have to remember, you are not living in a Muslim country, so it's different. Okay, but how many days is the Eid? It's just 1, and there's only 1 Eid prayer. I know there's a lot of innovation going on, and by the way, I did put out my shorts from last week's Islam Q&A, and that's one of the shorts that I did put out. Go to my YouTube channel, click on the tab that says shorts, and you will see I answered that question last week about how many Eid prayers, how many Juma prayers. 1, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do 3 Eid prayers or no 3 Juma prayers. That's all a bid'ah. That's all innovation. We do not cater the prayers around our schedule. We cater our schedule around the prayers. Allah says in the Quran that every prayer has a fixed time. The Juma prayer has a fixed time. The Eid prayer has a fixed time. Every prayer has a fixed time for a reason. It's to see, do you truly how we worship Allah? Are we going to drop what we are doing to put Allah first? Or are we going to put our jobs, our children, our families before Him? It's a test. A lot of us put our job, our money, our families before Allah. So that's a test that many Muslims are failing. You want the Juma prayer to be at your convenience. No, everything has a fixed time. Allah controls the time. That's why as Muslims, we can't curse it. Oh yeah, we can't curse time because Allah controls time. So these masjids is having 2, 3, 4 Juma prayers. 2, 3, 4 Eid prayers. They're not following the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're accommodating you. They're following your Sunnah, and this is a bid'ah. And they're going to answer to Allah for that, because every prayer, including Juma, including the Eid, has a fixed time. It's about worshiping Allah, not worshiping your schedule or worshiping you. Everybody got that? That's one of the things I like about Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli. Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli. This man's been in America for over 60 years. Came to America from Saudi Arabia after the assassination of Malcolm X, when King Faisal, who was the king of Saudi Arabia, after the assassination of Malcolm X, when King Faisal sent a group of scholars from Saudi Arabia to America to teach Islam and its truthfulness to the Americans, because they were following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Okay, Sheikh Atli came after that in the 70s. Okay. And one thing about Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli, he stayed upon the Quran and the Sunnah. He never deviated away from that. And his community is very large. His community is larger than most of these other masajids here. But Sheikh Atli has never had 2 or 3 or 4 Juma prayers. He's never had 2 or 3 or 4 Eid prayers. And you will never see him have that in his masajid. Because he's a stickler for the Sunnah. That's why I respect him. That's why I'll always respect him over any of these other so-called sheikh here in America. Because he's a stickler for upholding the traditional Islam, which is what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and the first 4 caliph were upon. Y'all need to do away with all that innovation. Stop trying to accommodate man and instead accommodate Allah. That's what we were created to do, to accommodate Allah. And that's what we're going to be speaking about in tonight's class. In tonight's class, how has the concept of al-wala wal-bara become diluted? There's so many ways in which it has become diluted today. Let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen. We've spoken about how it's become diluted in regards how we've diluted the allegiance towards Allah, how we've diluted allegiance, showing allegiance towards the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how we've diluted our allegiance towards each other. Well, now we're going to go over some things in particular, some more things in particular. So let me put that, I'm trying to open it up. You guys can see my, for those of you on Bigo, please make sure, Sister Anissa, get up in one of those boxes. When you come in here, Anissa, get up in one of those boxes to occupy a seat, since I can't close it up no further for some reason. Right, will it let me? Let's see if it'll let me now. Nope, it won't let me. Oh, yes, it did. It did. It did. It did now. Okay, let me see if it'll let me. Okay, it did now. It wouldn't let me close it up before. Yeah, when y'all come in, get it hot. When y'all see those boxes open, take them, Sunnahfollowers. When Sunnahfollowers comes in, take those boxes. Okay, so let's see. So there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is speak about other ways in which our allegiance towards Allah, towards the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and towards the religion of Islam has become violated today in 2025. And let's give some. I'm going to give some examples as to how it has become violated. Some examples of violations against Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and His religion. Look at how we disrespect Allah. A lot of Muslims say, what do you mean? We disrespect Allah. Well, whenever we engage in blasphemy or actions that disrespect Allah, such as making fun of His attributes, such as making fun of His commands, or we deny the things that He says about Himself, this is showing disrespect towards Him. We have to recognize as Muslims the greatness and the magnificence of Allah. By recognizing His greatness and His magnificence, this allows us to develop a deep respect for Him. Why is it that many Muslims today have no respect for Allah? Because they don't know anything about Him. That's why you have to learn Allah's names. You have to learn Allah's attributes. Because by learning his names, learning his attributes, you're learning about him. And by understanding his names and attributes, you understand his wisdom. And then you can approach him with humility and gratitude and love. We also show disrespect for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A lot of people will say, Sister Layla, how could you say that? We're Muslim. Well, how many of us insult the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When you insult his wives, when you make fun of his wives, or you belittle his companions, you're insulting him. You're belittling him. When you make fun of his companions, you're making fun of him. When you insult his teachings, when you make fun of the beard, you're making fun of him. When you make fun of his commands, you're making fun of him. So we disrespect the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam just as much as we disrespect Allah. But by embracing, by learning about, just as we should learn the names and attributes of Allah, we Muslims need to study and learn the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because by learning his life and learning his teachings, this will serve as a source of guidance and inspiration for us. Instead of reading those self-help books written by Dr. Phil, instead of reading these pamphlets written by these nobodies of today, you need to go to Darul Islam bookstore and buy a book on the autobiography of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or you need to go to Amazon.com and buy one of Dr. Kareem Abu Zaid's books on the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or you need to go to atleonline.com and buy one of Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli's books on the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and get to know about him. Because by studying his character, then you can become dedicated to him. Then you can develop love for him. Then you can emulate him, take on his character, take on his behavior, his actions. And you would think twice before you ridicule something he said, or his wives, or his companions. Subhanallah. Also, how many of us neglect the principles of Islam? Whenever we ignore or neglect the principles of Islam, such as refusing to pray our prayers every day, refusing to fast during the month of Ramadan. How many of us women refuse to dress properly? Like I was saying yesterday, if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were alive today and saw how you sisters look when you go to the mosque, he would ban you. Most of you women go to the mosque, you're not dressed properly. Your hijabs are not correct. You wear tight-fitting clothes. You're showing your body parts. You're standing around posing for men. You have on perfume. You're interacting with the men. You're shaking hands with men. Whenever we neglect the fundamental principles of Islam, such as fulfilling and observing the pillars of faith, and we disregard the teachings of modesty, of haya, and things like that, we're also disrespecting our religion. We have to embrace the principles of Islam. And by doing this, this will provide a solid foundation and will help us to fulfill our purpose in life. By adhering to the principles of Islam, this will inspire us to actively seek the proper knowledge that Allah created us to seek. And then we would strengthen our connection with Allah. And this will in turn help us to deepen our relationship with Him. Another way that we violate our religion is by engaging in behavior that promotes everything that contradicts Islam, such as racism, discrimination, and things like that, that leads to rifts between us. It divides us. We're supposed to be one ummah, one nation. We're supposed to love each other. We're supposed to want for each other what we want for ourselves. We're supposed to recognize that Allah, when Allah created Adam, alayhi salam, the angel of death collected dirt from all over the earth. He collected black dirt, red dirt, yellow dirt, white dirt, pink dirt, brown dirt, yellow dirt. A person asked me last month in my Islam Q&A, they said, Sister Layla, what color was Adam? The answer is Adam was the color of all the colors of the dirt. The angel of death brought back all the colors of the dirt of the earth, and Allah shaped it and molded all of that to create Adam. So we are diverse. Humanity comes in all colors, all shades. This was no mistake. It's not a mistake that some people are black, some people are brown, some people are yellow, some people are beige. We have to recognize the diversity within the Muslim community and understand that this diversity can be a source of strength and richness. And by fostering unity and embracing our differences and working together, we in turn can build a vibrant and inclusive nation that can celebrate its diversity and strive together as one for the pleasure of Allah, like those original companions did. They came from all colors, all backgrounds. They were diverse and they conquered the world. The Romans, they were the superpower of the world. They conquered, they would have taken over the entire earth. But who defeated them? The Romans were defeated by the Muslims, not the Arabs, the Muslims. When the Muslims defeated the Romans, their army consisted of Muslims from all over, including Romans. Because many of the Roman generals had converted to Islam and helped to defeat the Roman Empire. That's what diversity does. It brings about change because of the unity and of the diversity. Subhanallah. Also, another reason why Islam is distorted today, why we lack allegiance, is because we lack kindness and compassion. Whenever we fail to be sensitive towards each other, whenever we are indifferent and insensitive and show cruelty towards our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters, and we disregard their feelings or just focus on one group and not the others, this also leads to division. This leads to disparity. As Muslims, we're supposed to show kindness and compassion towards all Muslims, regardless of where they are in the world, regardless of as to what color, what country they come from. We don't just focus on one part of the Muslim world. We focus on all of the Muslim world. That's why I tell you guys, when you got to stop, first of all, protesting is haram. It's haram to protest. We don't protest the qadr of Allah. This is haram. Everything that happens comes from Allah, good and bad. The Romans, protesting began with the Romans and the Greeks. The Romans used to protest their rulers. The Prophet didn't join in and protest with them. We believe in the qadr of Allah. The Prophet Muhammad told us that war comes from Allah. We don't pick up flags. We don't pick up signs and protest the qadr of Allah. We make dua. We make dua. And we change the condition of ourselves. So protesting is haram. We don't protest against Allah. That's the first mistake you Muslims around the world are making. Number two, we don't pick up flags. Remember, our allegiance is not to a country. Our allegiance is not to a flag. You Muslims are walking around protesting the qadr of Allah, and you protesting with a flag of a country. There's Muslims suffering all over the world. This war, I hate to tell y'all the truth, it didn't begin with Gaza. This war began with Afghanistan during the Bush regime. Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, they genocided Bosnia. The same thing happened in Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait. It's just spread it like Allah said it would. It went all through Africa, Sudan. The Sudanese are still being genocided. Nigeria, still genocided. Africa is still being genocided. This is not a Gaza war. This is not a war against Gaza, guys. This is the war against Islam that the Prophet Muhammad said would occur. And it's going to continue to spread until those 80 nations get together and sign that agreement to fight against all Islamic states. So it did not just begin 2 years ago. It's been happening, and it's going to continue. And as long as you people continue to behave like the non-Muslims, with your protesting against the qadr of Allah, wrapped up in one country's flag, going to the Kafirs, voting for them, begging them to change your decree, Allah is going to keep this war as it is, which he's going to keep it like it is anyway. It ain't going to stop. He already said it's not stopping. Okay? We have to fall back. We have to learn our religion correctly from the proper sources. Stop neglecting the principles of Islam. Stop dividing this nation. Show compassion towards all of this ummah, not just one part of it. And show kindness and love towards all this ummah, not just one part of it. And again, it begins at home. The masajids right here in America. Y'all got to stop this racism. Stop just showing. That's why I keep telling y'all about leaving out of the boxes.
I smash you.
Okay. That's why I tell you guys, it's got to stop. It's got to begin right there in the masjids. You know, stop showing preferential treatment to certain races within your masjids. You know, you're going to show preference to the Arabs over the non-Arabs. You're going to show preferential treatment, you know, to the Bosnians over the non-Bosnians. You know, charity, it can start right within our Islamic communities, guys. Subhanallah. Also, we have to stop spreading false information too. This is why I was telling my students. A lot of my students still have not made a comeback. I have some students of mine who have not been the same in the past 2 years. Some of my male students, I've lost them. Not from my website, but I've lost them mentally. They haven't been the same in the past 2 years. This past 2 years, what's going on in the world has impacted them mentally, and they haven't come back from it. Okay? I had to tell them to stop watching the news, stop watching TV, get off of social media, because there's so much false information being spread on social media. There's so much false information about Islam, about Muslims. We're being divided politically. I had to tell them, get out of the politics of this world. Get out of the politics. Believe it or not, guys, a lot of us Muslims are contributing to destroying us as an ummah by spreading false information, spreading false rumors, misinformation, engaging in gossip that's harming the reputation of fellow believers, or misrepresenting the teachings of Islam. You know, we hear about all these governments, the government of Saudi Arabia this, the government of Egypt that. May Allah curse this government. May Allah curse. First of all, we have to be careful cursing anyone who's a Muslim. I don't care if it's a government or not. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, be careful cursing another Muslim, because if that person is not worthy of that curse, it's going to come back on you. And you don't know what's going on in these countries. I don't know what's going on in these countries. You ain't living there. You don't know what's happening. You need to keep your mouth shut. But there are bad and good in everything. Our prophet taught us that. I do know this. I do know this. I know that the United Arab Emirates sent $8 million. $8 million. $8 million to the people of Gaza. I know that for a fact, because my brother-in-law is a part of that. So when you cursing people and you don't have your facts straight, it's going to come back down on you. So that's why I had to tell my students, turn off your television, turn off what you hear on social media. Do like the prophet said, stay out of the politics of this world, because there is no power. There is no might other than Allah. Leave what's happening in the world in the fingers of Allah, because Allah is the one that's in control of what's happening in the world. There's not even a leaf falling from a tree unless Allah is willing it. So get out of the politics of this world and let Allah handle it. If the governments are doing something wrong, the Prophet Muhammad already made dua for us. That hadith is Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet, before he died, he made dua saying, "Oh Allah, any rulers over my people who are abusing my nation, you deal with them." So the Prophet has already looked out for us. We don't need you. You are a peasant. We don't need you to go around cursing people that you don't know nothing about, and all you're doing is misguiding the weak amongst us. And you got the weak amongst us messed up mentally, where they can't even survive day to day because they think, oh, Allah has abandoned us, because they're weak spiritually. You know, we have to understand. I want all of you listening to me to understand everything that's happening on this earth today is happening because Allah said for it to happen. Y'all understand that? Yeah. He's in control. Not you, not me. Get out of the politics and do like the Prophet said, work on you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you live to see war, work on you. Make sure your aqidah is correct. Make sure that you are not the cause of Allah's war. War is a sign of Allah's anger. Make sure that you aren't one of the ones who are contributing to his anger. And make sure that when it hits you, because Allah said he sends war as a punishment to us all for not upholding Tawheed. But Allah has promised us that he will, when he raises us up, he'll judge us individually. So make sure that if you die as a result of the war and he raises you up and judges you, that your judgment will be just and good. So get out of the politics of the world. Allah is in charge. He's handling this. He don't need your input. He doesn't need your peon peasant opinion. There's a lot of false information out there. There's a lot of propaganda out there. And there's a lot of Muslims who are terrorists. Believe it or not, a lot of these Muslims are terrorists. And they're trying to incite you. Okay? So if we uphold the truth and seek true knowledge, you know, you can overcome that crap. And again, remember that Allah is in charge. There is no power. There is no might other than he. Keep that in mind and keep it moving. Also, too many of us neglect our brotherhood responsibilities. We fail to fulfill our responsibilities to each other, such as not checking on each other. When we get sick, how many of us call on our brothers and sisters who are right here that we know and say, how you doing, sister? Do you need anything? How are the kids? Do they need anything? And I ain't talking about you sisters or you brothers calling and checking on people who are not mahrams to you. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about you sisters checking on the sisters in your community. I'm talking about you brothers checking on the brothers in your community. I ain't talking about that intermixing. I'm not talking about that hanky-panky, stanky stuff that shouldn't be happening. I'm talking about you having your wife call and check on that sister. You having your husband call and check on a brother. The Islamic way, not the Kafir way. We need to do that more because there are Muslims in our community who may be in need of help and we're neglecting them. They're starving or they're lonely or they have mental health issues. A lot of Muslims today are suffering with mental health issues. Those women that you brothers are messaging on social media. Why do y'all think those women are on social media? They got mental health issues. That's why you shouldn't be messaging them. They crazy, most of them. Okay? And you end up finding out when you hook up with them just how crazy they are, don't you? You know? Instead of you messaging those women, have your real wife get some help for these sisters. These brothers that you women are messaging, they got mental health issues too. Especially the ones with 2, 3 wives and 50 children. That should tell you they got some mental issues. How the heck I'm gonna have 3 wives and 50 kids and I'm still ain't satisfied? I'm messaging you. Tell that brother to go get some mental help. Okay? We got to check on the people in our communities, guys. They need support. They need assistance. Whenever we embrace the concept of true sisterhood, true brotherhood, you know, that's how we become strong. Remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the greatest weapon that we have against Shaitan is each other. That was the weapon that the companions had. Why is it? Shaitan became angry when Islam spread throughout the peninsula of Arabia. He was angry and he said, well, I'm going to try to attack them. I'm going to try to make them hate each other. I'm going to try to pull them apart. And that's when the prophet said the greatest weapon that we have is each other. We have to stand firm, stand united, love each other. Because as long as we are together like this, Shaitan has no way of impacting us. And also, we have to pray, guys. Prayer is everything. We cannot neglect our 5 prayers every day. Because long as we perform those 5 daily prayers, that keeps us under the protection of Allah. Those 5 daily prayers prayed on time, within the time frame that Allah has put them in. They keep us under the protection of Allah. And also, we have to stop condemning other Muslims. We have to stop making takfir, calling each other kafirs, like I said earlier, cursing each other, calling each other kafir, and all of that, because that destroys us as a nation. And we have to continuously seek knowledge of this religion. That should be our priority. Whatever you do, you have to come to these classes every day. My classes are every day at 6:30 and 9:30. You have to make it a habit to attend these 2 classes every day, because those 2 classes are what's going to give you the inspiration and the motivation to stay strong and to handle whatever trials you have in life. And also, never neglect the rights of others. Remember the rights that our Muslim brothers and sisters have over us. If you owe somebody money, pay them back their debt. Don't go around slandering another Muslim's character. Don't go around taking another Muslim's property. We should be able to trust each other. Okay? And always try to improve yourself. Understand that this world, this life is short. Death can come knocking at any time on your door. So you want to go out with a good ending. So you want to constantly, before you go to bed each night, ask yourself, am I going to bed a believer or am I going to bed a hypocrite? So always make sure, that you're improving yourself, and always give in charity. Remember, we talked about how every good deed that we do is an action of charity. You do not want to be a hypocrite. You don't want to be a person that claims to believe in Allah, but your actions show otherwise. You don't want to say that you're a Muslim, but your behavior is that of a non-Muslim. That's a hypocrite. So these are the things I wanted to go over today. And again, being the Eid, I put a little bit more kick into my my lecture, because I wanted to kind of inspire and kind of shake your hearts a little bit today too, because this was the Eid. So again, I want to remind everybody that tonight at 9:30, I have my Islam Q&A class. So any questions that y'all have about Islamic things, you can bring them, inshallah. And also, if there's a question I cannot answer, Abu Atayib, Sheikh Abu Atayib will be on standby. He's one of the scholars of the ulama from Egypt. He's my personal teacher too. The only one I got left living. He'll be on standby to help answer too. Okay, Sister Amina, I already answered that there's only one day of the Eid. The Eid is only one day. There's no such thing as 3 Eids. The Eid is one day. Okay? Yes. The Eid is one day. A lot of people celebrate it for 3 or longer, but it's only one day. If they want to do 3 days or 4 days, they can, but it's only one day. Okay, that's the correct answer. One day. I'm not wrong. Bring your dalil. Whoever this person is in here, bring your evidence. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the Eid is one day. As I said earlier, during the Caliphate of Ali, it was Ali who allowed the people to celebrate 3 days because they had just stopped, they had just won the battle, and the people were tired from fighting a battle. The Eid is one day, technically. Well, if they want to celebrate 5 days, 10 days, they can. Get him out of here, Mina. But it's one day. Mina, are you here? Thank you. I don't have time for no Shiites. All right. Yeah, anybody that comes in Bigo trying to argue with me, just ban them, Mina. I don't have time for that. No time for Shiites. He's a Shiite. I don't have no time for Shiites. I don't like Shiites. I don't like Shiites. I don't like Shiites. I don't like Shiites. I don't have no time for Shiites. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Okay, guys. I want y'all to stick around because Brother Yusuf is here. Yeah. Yeah, on this program, Mina, anybody that questions me like that, I want them out because there's a lot of Shiites on here. I ain't got time for them. No, no, sirree, Bob. No, no, no. Shiites. Okay. Now let me see how to make this so that it's just I don't know where Geechee is because I hate to leave Mina and you know what, Mina? I think it would be best. Brother Yusuf, hold on for a second. I think it's best for me to close that room up because the Shiites are in there. Okay, hold on. Okay, I hate Shiites. I really do. I don't like them. I don't like them. And it's best I close that room up. Okay, hold on for a second, guys, on YouTube. Let me set this up. I got to pick up my grandson. Mina, are you in here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I think it's best I close that up. I'm not gonna be here. Okay. And that dude was a Shiite.
I was just waiting for you to tell me, and
I don't have time. I don't like Shiites. I don't like them, especially not now with what's going on in the world. I ain't got time for them. Okay, hold on. Let me hold on. Okay, hold on, guys. Brother Yusuf, who's AWA? So I can make you moderator. Give you
yes, I'm here.
Okay, your computer be fine and stuff.
Oh yeah, my computer's good.
Okay, let me give you host and just give me yeah, make me you make me co-host. I gotta deal with these grandkids now. I gotta deal with my grandkids now, y'all. This is gonna be stressful. Okay, Brother Yusuf, is he here? Is he there? What's up?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, Brother Yusuf, I'm gonna be leaving because I got to pick up my grandkids. You see the stress coming on me. Grandkids, teenagers.
You gotta love the Shia, though. You gotta welcome them with open arms.
Oh, not here. Sitting here trying to start some stuff with me. Oh, not today. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me hold on for a second, guys. Hold on. Let me make sure I got this before I drive over there. Hold on. The stress is getting ready to get live. It's a long drive. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Brother tried to sit there and start a fight with me. He tried to start a fight with me. You should have seen him.
What was he saying?
Mina, no, you're wrong. Mina, don't let them do that to me on that program. Just ban them instantly.
It was just to get him out. I just seen a little right. I turned around, and that's when I got him.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello? Are you ready? Are you ready to come or what? Hello? Nasir.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
I'm doing a class. What's going on? What? Hello? Nasir. This is what I'm talking about. These grandkids. Nasir.
Yes.
Are you ready?
No.
Why not?
I have company on.
What company? I'm supposed to be picking you up.
I'm cousins.
What cousins? So you don't want me to pick you up now? Okay, so I'm not going to pick you up then, okay, Nasir?
Okay.
Because I got a class. I got a class right. I'm live now.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
I'm going to see if Jen could drop me off.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Walaikum salam.
You see what grandkids do to you? Now, see, when I didn't go pick him up, I'm showing favoritism. They accuse me of favoritism, Brother Yusuf. They said I showed favoritism by not bringing him. He said I showed favoritism by not picking him up and bringing him over. Now his cousins is over.
You sounded enthusiastic there.
All right. Okay. Well, this is good. Okay. All right. We can start. I guess I'll be here. I can relax now.
Okay.
All right, brother. You said it. Turn your camera on. We can get started. Should I open that room up for Vigo? Mina? Since I'm
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, hold on, brother. Brother, let's see if the Shiites come in. We'll let Brother Yusuf deal with them.
You need to teach me how to bend. I'm gonna do it right now. I'm typing to you right now, Ava. Okay.
Hold on, brother.
For 1 minute, I need to take care of this sun. The sun is shining right through the blinds.
Oh yeah, it sure is. Okay, yeah, you do that while I
it's
go.
It's gonna have a glare the whole time.
Okay, I'm gonna put on this.
Put a curtain.
Ooh, this man digging in his nose on here. Ooh, that's disgusting. Okay. Put it on 4. Put it on 4. Okay, and put it on. My camera's going. Well, I'm gonna show I can put it where they can see him. Okay. Okay, get in there. Get in there, Mina. Oh, y'all blew it. Y'all done blew it. Y'all all blew it. There, see? Y'all all blew it. Now I gotta make it bigger. Okay. You blew it, Mina. Now I gotta make it bigger. You blew it. Y'all got to be on.
Yeah, everything is better now. Having that sun shining through the multiple mirrors of a monitor. It's not.
Okay, I'm gonna put them where they can see you on here. I'm gonna turn my picture off. Okay. And you can start whenever you are ready, because my sound is going to stereo where you won't be able to hear me after this. You can start.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Eid Mubarak. Yes. But things I felt that were relevant to talk about in context of what we cover all the time. We'll still have time for questions, assuming we'll have some extra 15, 20 minutes in the end, maybe. God willing, we can always take as many questions as time permits. So, besides Eid, obviously, we're in the middle of another epic holiday season, if you will. The LGBTQ Pride Month kicked off. So we're going to have a couple of LGBTQ themes as they relate to government, as they relate to the New World Order. A couple of big Islamic themes also happened this week as well. Some immigration news, and of course, people may want to speak at the end on Trump and Elon, the real-life soap opera that is playing out in real time. The news cycle nowadays just works so much faster, than it did when I was growing up. Typically, a news story would last for weeks. Now you get days go by and people already forgot about what happened on Sunday or Monday. It is really what social media has done. They can just throw so much at you, and your mind really doesn't even get a chance to digest story A before it's already story B, and then you're way behind story C comes out. So just a lot going on this week. But as I said, we kicked off Pride Month. This is a joyous occasion in the West. It's taken on religious connotations in some places, like Canada, where when Justin Trudeau, unfortunately, was in the office, he dedicated the entire summer to this. And really, I mean, if you go back to the 1980s or the 1970s, and you ask an adult during that time period, would they ever live to see a day where there would be an entire month dedicated to homosexuality? I think everybody would have said you're crazy. Even me, who had been kind of in the know by the early 2000s when I was in my early 20s, I didn't think they would take it this far, this fast, where we really have a month. And you're seeing the corporations changing the logos to the rainbow flag. You're seeing places like Target. They used to have it. I don't know if they still do it. Last year they did. I try not to go to Target unless I can absolutely avoid it. But they had an entire section that was nothing but LGBTQ themed items and clothing and things like that. So just a side note on this, which is kind of interesting. Going back to 1994, June was originally dedicated as Men's Mental Health Month. Kind of interesting, isn't it? That just not too long ago, before this was given to the LGBTQ XYZ community, this was actually known as Men's Mental Health Month. And as we're going to be really exploring this homosexuality is more of a male problem. And I'm going to throw some statistics out here in a few minutes, which are really going to bring that to light, because it really is a men's mental health issue. So if you look at LGBTQ statistics, we're talking about the U.S. here. We're focusing entirely on the U.S. 4.7% of men identify as gay, LGBTQ, if you will. Now, with women, we're going to unpack this. It's 8.5%. But when you look at the category breakdown of that, out of that 4.7% of the gay men, the vast majority are not bisexual. They are open homosexuals. But if you look at that 8.5% of women, you are seeing that the vast majority of this are identified as bisexual, while the men are typically homosexual. So when you look at the relationship between women and propaganda, there is a reason, obviously, everything that Allah and his messenger, on whom be peace, have given us in terms of guidance, in terms of revelation. When you put it to the test of time, it's always 100% going to be correct. And we're going to be looking at a lot of that guidance as we move on here tonight. Women are made to be governed and controlled by their men. And if it's not the men in the family, the brothers, the fathers, who are leading these women, somebody else is going to do it. You are going to find a third party, in this case, the government, the media, these Zionists, obviously, who are just licking their chops for an opportunity to lead women astray. And as men, we cannot continue to fail in this. I don't have any daughters, so I'm not in the position. I have only boys that I was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessing, obviously, as they are. I don't have any girls. But for men out there who are fathers, it's time again to step up, stop trying to be the best friend, stop trying to be the buddy and the pal, and put the discipline back down again that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the authority to do. We have to guide these women, because what we're seeing is, I'm going to break this down even more. This is purely an effect of propaganda, where the men's side of this is more of an effect of a mental health issue. In 2015, we're going to start, because this is really when it began, when you had the end of Obama's first or second term, where Obama was really stepping up this propaganda. At that period of time, 4.1% of women identified themselves as LGBTQ. The number has risen to 8.5% in just 10 years. Women follow trends. They're becoming bisexual, not because they actually have an urge. In most cases, when you explore these situations, it's because they're seeking male attention, because men have shown themselves in the last decades to like this activity of women engaging in these acts. But also, it's societal acceptance. It becomes like a little badge. Like when you win Girl Scout or Boy Scout medals, and you stick them up there on your uniform, and you go out in public and you show off your badges. That's basically what liberalism is. It's walking around with these different badges. Oh, I'm progressive. Oh, I believe in gay rights. Oh, I'm against climate change. Oh, I'm for Palestine. You see that now with the left, and they have no clue about the Palestine situation. They see it on a very surface level. It's a virtue signal. And with women, it's the same thing. While men, on the other hand, if we look at this time period where the brainwashing really escalated, 3.7% of men identified themselves as gay in 2015. Right now, I highlighted earlier, it's only 4.7%. So it hasn't raised that much. We're seeing that basically the same men almost that would have been gay in 2015 are the same type of men who would be gay in 2025. But on the other hand, you see the doubling, with the women, which is showing that the propaganda is working. And obviously the Zionists who heavily peddle this stuff, they have access to these statistics. They know their propaganda is working. They know they're going to continue to escalate it. I have people telling me who their kids are in high school, their kids are in middle school, and they're telling me all the girls are bisexual. Now in places like the UK, it's even worse because we've lost control. And like I said, if the fathers aren't doing it, the brothers aren't doing it, a third party is going to come in and they are going to lead these women. And that, unfortunately, is exactly what had happened. So now let's turn the page. It's still got a little bit of LGBTQ theme in it, as we're going to be in the first half of tonight. But Trump this week did something that goes to my 2030 agenda of a couple of months ago when I outlined what the 2030 agenda was. I exposed those who are implementing it and the ways that they're implementing it, particularly in the Muslim world. Well, Donald Trump gave the authority, the funding is there, for a company known as Palantir to collect data on Americans. Now, again, if you go back and you remember that 2030 talk, and I talked about the social credit system that was going on in China. And what that social credit system is simply you get credits for different things. And obviously with programmable money coming up here in the future, we've talked about that here at Lent as well, where they can actually turn your money off over time or just because of bad deeds or bad behaviors as they're trying to go into this kind of universal basic income system. That if you're a bad boy, well, they're going to go on the keyboard and they're going to enter some data in there and they're going to delete you. And you're not going to be able to do anything. There's story after story coming out of China, that terrible place, where you find numerous men are now homeless because their social credit score is so low that because they're dissidents, they may have criticized the government, they may have even been favorable of Islam. China obviously doesn't like us too much. Maybe they share sympathy with the Uyghurs. And there you go, there's a minus there, 2 minuses here. All of a sudden you have no money. And you're completely dependent on them for every aspect of your life. And in the West, it's not going to be able to be done as easy because China has always been kind of an iron fist. You do as you're told or else. In the West, they pride themselves on freedom of speech and expression and love of the individual. You're not going to be able to sell it the same way. And we're going to see many wet methods tonight, how they're going to sell it and how they are selling it, how they're going to get this agenda across. But this Palantir company will start collecting data, medical, Social Security, all these different things. And now they're going to have they already have it. This is just letting the public know they have it. Some kind of intellectual profile, social profile on every single one of us. And the MAGA people are loving it. So the description of Palantir, the fact they chose this name is quite interesting. This was came up with, we're going to talk about the meaning of that in a second, by the Gotham software program. And it's designed, and this is where it gets scary, to look at behavioral patterns of people in real time. Flag potential threats, goes back to COINTELPRO in the CIA, identifying potential troublemakers and neutralize them, and support decisions around public safety and fraud detection. So they're going to sell this, they already are, as it's going to protect you from the illegals stealing your social security numbers, which is happening, obviously. The illegals shouldn't be here. So I shouldn't have to worry about protection from them. If they do their job, they wouldn't be here. But they're going to sell it as that. You know, it's for the good of you. It's going to be great. But when you start talking about analyzing behavioral patterns, who defines what is a safe or unsafe or good or not good? Behavior. Them. So if I say things that go against the official stance of the government, not treasonous things, but things I just criticize the policy, is that a negative behavior? Is that something I should be flagged for just for having constructive criticism? If I'm promoting a viewpoint they don't agree with or counteracts their agenda, am I going to be flagged? Again, this is very shady language here. And of course, we know in the end of the goal, they have a goal. They're going from here to here. And they're going to take us there in a series of ups and downs, pushbacks, and apparent rises. The population defeated it, all that type of rhetoric stuff. And they're eventually going to get there. So again, analyzing behavioral patterns and flagging potential threats is extremely concerning language. Again, what else could be included in there? Criticizing Israel. We're going to look at that later and what happened in Boulder, Colorado. LGBTQ, anti-human activities. If I criticize global warming or climate change, could I be on that list? If I criticize 15-minute cities like I've done here on this platform and all the restrictions and all the anti-human activities they're engaged in, am I going to be flagged now? I mean, they've already probably flagged me long ago, but when you start playing with someone's money and someone's destiny and someone's ability to feed their family because of their ideology, that is a problem, and that is absolutely frightening. Palantir comes from the author J.R. Tolkien. He is a famous medieval fiction writer. He had a concept of magical stones in his film or his books, it later became films, which allow you to see basically great distances. So again, they're telling you in this exactly what this is doing. They named it after stones, which allowed the user to be able to see visions of things that were going on at great distances. So here, this company is going to allow the government, the IRS, everybody, to be able to see everything that we are doing from a great distance. It's right there in the name. They choose the names of these companies very carefully. They know exactly, what they're doing. Well, who funded or created this company? Well, it's a gentleman known as Peter Thiel, also former CEO of PayPal. He was also the first outsider investor in Facebook, first person non-insider to invest in the Facebook project. I heard he turned like somewhere in the air 1,500 to 5,000 into just massive amounts of money because he was in there so early before the public even knew. They all work together like this. This is how they get so much more wealthier than us, is because they knew Facebook was a government program. They knew it was going to blow up. It was going to be released under Mark Zuckerberg's name. It was going to be, again, a way of tracking you, because they're never in this country, like I said, going back to my previous point, they're not just going to do the Chinese way, say you do it or else. No, they're going to get you to want it. They're going to get you to like it. They'll change the language, and then when you wake up to it, they'll pull it back. Like I said, it's just a series of this until they finally get where they're going. So if you know Facebook is going to be as big as it became, and you're an insider, and you're there from day one, you put your money in, bang. That money's going to multiply 10 times over. And all of a sudden, you've turned $5,000 into $100,000, to $200,000. And this is how they're so much more wealthy and powerful than us, because all the tricks of the game are rigged. They're involved in all of it. And they're always going to be a step ahead of us because of this reason. But it gets more interesting when we look at Mr. Thiel, the man behind the spying, if you will. He is an open homosexual, going with the theme of LGBTQ. He was married in 2017, and he had a relationship with a gay Instagram model named Jeff Thomas. Well, Mr. Thomas was found dead after falling from his Miami high-rise apartment on March 8th, 2023. Thiel, who's worth now $21 billion with a B, he had supplied Mr. Thomas with gifts, cars, and just about everything he wanted, according to the witnesses. So you find right here, obviously, there is a slight murder implication, perhaps, with Mr. Thiel. Another one of these many, and I mean many, we don't have time to name them, that'd be multiple hours worth of all these open homosexuals and closet homosexuals. We'll look at another one here in a minute, who are controlling journalism, who are controlling these companies. And needless to say, what agenda do you think they're going to push? The normalization is going to continue. Now, this guy, open homosexual, looks very shady of his lover, if you will's death, is now going to be working close with the White House and supplying software to collect data and analyze us and look for our behavioral patterns and a variety of other nefarious things. So it just continues to build and build and build. And he's one of those guys that you probably haven't heard of. But when you dig deep in his background, you're going to find this guy is everywhere. So he was at PayPal. He was a CEO of that, made a ton of money there. Big investor. He's responsible for J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's vice president candidate, rising up out of nowhere through the ranks. All of a sudden, boom, there he is. He's now, I never heard of the guy. Now he's a vice president front runner. And sure enough, he is the vice president. And now he's going to be actively working in the White House. Now, to continue with this LGBTQ theme, we had another gentleman that was in the news this week, Glenn Greenwald. You get a double whammy here. He is a Jew, most likely, obviously, a Zionist, open homosexual again, award-winning journalist, married gay father of two. That sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Married gay father of two. So obviously, we're going to explore that here in a second as well. So as customary, as you see with homosexual couples, and the West continues to allow this, obviously, despite most people being against this, at least that I talk to, what I've seen in some studies that's saying there's not a lot of people for it, but it seems like the vast majority of Americans are against this. But they adopted what? Girls? No, of course not. They adopted two young boys. Now, I want to keep this in mind for later on when we're going to talk about the fake Western outrage over some Muslim behavior of morality and decency later. But no one in the mainstream media has a problem with this. Probably you say 45% of Americans don't have a problem with this. All liberals practically don't have a problem with this. That you have two openly gay homosexuals, raising two young boys. That just simply, they're not their kids. There's no biological connection. Obviously, you see all the time that these guys go to third world countries to adopt these boys. Why do they do that? Because those boys have nowhere to run to. I remember a story made me just extremely angry. I probably would have done something bad and got myself in prison if I would have seen these two guys. But this gay couple in Georgia had adopted a young Russian boy who didn't speak any English. They brought him over to this country. They sodomized him repeatedly. They let their friends sodomize him repeatedly. I mean, this boy, I mean, I looked at him, he looked like he had a disability. I mean, it set something off in me. This was a few years ago. I really felt nothing but rage and, anger toward the system, obviously toward these men as well. But these men are who they are. But the system allowed them to have custody of this young, what looked like mentally challenged young boy who didn't know the language, didn't know the laws, had no connection, nowhere to go. In the case of Mr. Greenwald, it was two Brazilian boys. So we're seeing the same thing. So his husband had died in 2023. What did he die from? A gastrointestinal illness. Now, you may be wondering why I brought that up. Well, you get this illness from a few things, and we're kind of narrow them down and let your imagination do the rest. You get it from dirty water. It's also commonly known as food poisoning. I've had food poisoning from eating contaminated food before. But largely, it is human-to-human contact with fecal matter. And this gentleman's husband died of that. So needless to say, I might want to explore the details of possibilities here, knowing the homosexual lifestyle, what they're doing, and what's well known about what they're doing, that his condition is very common. And it's this byproduct of their activities. And we'll leave it there for the sake of decency. So he became the father of these two boys solo. So while the boys were asleep, Mr. Greenwald was filming explicit sex acts with a male prostitute, which go beyond any Muslim description of decency. Like I said, I'm not even going to describe the acts here. They're all online. You're not going to get it from me, but you can trust me, take my word for it. Very, very, were disgusting things while these two children were sleeping in the room. And knowing many other stories I've heard from this community, the children have probably seen this with their own eyes as well. And they engaged in humiliation, sexual rituals, while smoking crystal meth. And methamphetamine, for those familiar with this community, is very, very common in the LGBTQ community because it gives you higher level of performance. It gives you more endurance, more alertness. It is a known thing that they engage in this activity. And if you can remember back when Barack Obama was in the office, they kept selling the agenda that they're just like us. They just want to get married and love each other and have a family and the white picket fence, and they want to live the American dream. But when you look at this is a prominent Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. This is a guy that was a hero among the left. They loved this man. They praised this man for how great of a journalist he was. And this is who he is. These are the people selling us news. These are the people doing this. So again, you saw this past week nonstop media defense of this man and his activities. Now, could you imagine just for a second, a straight family man was engaged in these acts with children in the house asleep? Everyone would be calling for the kids to be taken away. But when a member of this community does it, they say, oh, he's just an adult. He's just an adult. He's doing adult things. Well, I've been an adult for quite some time, and needless to say, I've never engaged in the activities that were described in these videos. I've never seen them, alhamdulillah, but never, needless to say, have I ever been involved in those type of activities. Now, could you imagine for a minute if this was a Muslim man? You would have every Christian apologist, nonstop, hour-long shows going over this. They would say Islam causes this. Islam represses human emotion. It represses human sexuality. You can't let Muslims adopt kids because if they don't do this, they'll turn them into a jihadi. And you'd hear all this rhetoric. But when this community does it, no, he's just an adult with two young boys happening to be in the house while he's engaged in drug use. Any straight parent would have had their kids taken from them. But again, you see this stuff going on all the time. It's so prevalent in our ruling class, it's worth an entire series. These guys are open. You can look at Chuck Schumer's wife as an example and see who he's married to. Is a very prominent Democratic politician. I think it's Matt Gaetz, the Republicans, not married. He adopted what, again, boys. Now, he's not open with that, but he adopted 2 boys. He's unmarried. He's a man in his late 30s, early 40s, I believe. And again, it's so prevalent. You can go back through history. We could have the pictures. We could show Roosevelt's wife. We could show so many examples of these ruling elites marrying transgenders, posing as women. You see it now with Emmanuel Macron in France. You're seeing it with this guy here, that the people that are ruling us, they are demonic in all aspects of their life, not just the thievery and the corruption and the bribery and the lies. It goes across, because this stuff is a disease. Once you start sinning, once you start disobeying the law, the filthy becomes beautiful, and you just can't get enough of the filth. You're always chasing the next thrill. And you just see it leads them further and further down a very dark path. Now, I want to keep that in mind as we segue into the next piece of news here and look at the difference in the reaction if you've seen this story. So Saturday night, this past Saturday, there was a Champions League soccer match. I'm American, so I wasn't aware that this Champions League is a big deal. I know what it is. It's like bigger than the Super Bowl globally. But here in America, we don't keep much up with what they call football. But there was a Champions League final. And during the post game, the UFC fighter, who is an open practicing Muslim, named Habib I can't even pronounce this last name, Nurmagomedov. I've heard of this gentleman before. He was a world champion. He was undefeated from Dagestan. Seems like a very good man. He's constantly giving his earnings to his community. You see this guy doing things all the time. He's not the type that's bragging about it either. There's people exposing all his good that he's done for his community. He's really taken his money and really pumped it into youth programs to get his people out of poverty. He really seems like I don't approve of his career choice. He's retired now, but it seems like he's really taken that money and done a law's work with it. I mean, he seems to be a very stand-up guy. So we had this interview with British journalist Kate Scott, and she basically reached out and attempted to shake his hand. And Habib refused in a polite way. He said, "No, thank you. I'm Muslim. I don't do that." I don't know exactly what he said, but something to that effect. And again, he refused to shake hands with a woman. In the West, I mean, it's like, you're allowed to smack a woman on the backside. You're allowed to grope a woman. They'll say, "Oh, he's being a man." In some circles, the feminists will say, "Oh, no, he's a sexist chauvinist." But when you refuse, in Islam, you just can't win. The feminists will be out there saying, "Oh, no, men shouldn't be toxically masculine." Here is Habib respecting a woman, saying, "I'm not going to shake her hand." And basically they're saying, "Oh, you're bad too," because you just can't win, like with these people. So she apologized to him. She showed class in respecting his religious beliefs. She didn't seem to have a problem with it. But the media firestorm began. You saw comments in social media going to the effect of, "How dare we allow these people in our countries? This is how they view women. What culture is this?" And you saw so many tweets, like that coming down again on the Muslims. Like, how dare he not shake this woman's hand? You didn't see that same thing from these same leftists when it came to Mr. Greenwald earlier and all the things he was doing with young children. But don't shake a woman's hand. Oh, my goodness. This is just horrible. During this same week, particularly in British society, which seems to be even more degenerate and vile than even Western American society, there was an English woman. I'm not going to name her name. I don't want anyone to go look her up. But she announced that she's going to be tied up. She's going to be tied up, hands behind the back, and she's going to be in a plexiglass cage. And 2,000 men can use her during a time period in any way she wants, but she's capping it at 2,000. Anything beyond 2,000 is too much. She has her standards, but 2,000 men will enter this plexiglass and they will do whatever they want. So the same exact culture where you see these tweets criticizing Habib is then not even condemning to the same level, this level of disgusting debauchery And you want to say animalistic, but that's unfair to animals. Animals don't behave in this way. You don't see animals doing the things that Mr. Greenwald was doing. You don't see animals doing the things that this woman was doing. You don't see the animals doing things I'm sure Mr. Thiel was doing. So a lot of times people will say that's animalistic behavior. I really want them to stop using that phrase because that's unfair to animals. Animals behave the commands of Allah. They're doing exactly as they were created and made to do. Animals are not doing this. Only human beings are capable of this level of low, just going to these depths. The average Western man will have no problem with his daughter at 15, 14, even 13 maybe, bringing home a man or guy, going up to her room, closing the door. They'll have no problem with their daughter having 100 boyfriends or intimate partners by the time she's 100. That's no, by the time she's 25, I'm sorry. But this thing with Habib, no. He didn't shake the woman's hand. He should be kicked out. He shouldn't be allowed in the West. But this girl with 100 partners at the age of 22, 23, 24, 25, it's not even younger than that. That's commendable. She's expressing herself. She's finding herself. She's finding her love. She's finding true love. It just took a long list of partners to finally get there. And again, no problem with Glenn Greenwald. No problem with crystal meth in the house. No problem with having 1,000 different partners like most gay men do during the course of their lives. But don't dare try not to shake a woman's hand. So again, brothers and sisters, we are on the right side of history. These people have no moral high ground on us. And I'm so sick and tired of watching these imams and these cowards, out there. Just every time the West, particularly the left, throw their language out there, watching the Muslims just cower. Like they're letting them have the high ground. Oh, Islam is like that too. We're tolerant of LGBTQ. Oh no, we're tolerant. We're the religion of women's rights. You hear all this stuff. This just bowing down. It's sickening. These people have no moral high ground over us. We are on the right side of history. And it's a tough time right now. But in 100 years, none of us will be alive to quote me on this. But it's going to be vindicated. And we are going to see who really truly was on the right side of history. So now we're going to segue to one of the bigger stories of the week. There was an attack at a pro-Israel rally in Boulder, Colorado. Mr. Mohammed Sabri Suleiman, 45 years old, looked a lot older than that. I'm 46. And I think I look 10 years younger than this guy. So I always question sometimes these aspects. But he's 45 years old, according to the sources. Now, he was Egyptian and had previously lived in Kuwait for 17 years before moving to Colorado a year ago. He was one of countless unnameable illegals living in the United States. All him and his family were illegal, and they all should be deported. But obviously, that's a different story. So in this attack, 12 people in total, were injured. What he had done was he made Molotov cocktails as explosives and was throwing them, and also used a flamethrower, allegedly, in an attempt to kill them. And of course, here it comes. He was reporting to have shouted, "Free Palestine," while engaged in these acts of violence. So he's chanting "Free Palestine." I've talked about this at length for months, that eventually Palestine and support for Palestine will be something that will almost be illegal. We're going to get to what they're doing about this here in a minute, because it's going to that direction. That just even acknowledging the existence of Palestine, much less supporting it. You are a supporter of terrorism, you're a traitor, your speech should be silenced. And we have, again, this guy. He also allegedly attacked children during this as well, which is beyond reprehensible, if true. Now, as usual, as Muslims, we are expected to take responsibility for everything a person bearing a Muslim name does. I mean, I obviously condemn this. I'm sure everybody here on the platform condemns this, if this is true. Again, it's very convenient. Come to that in a minute. Very, very convenient as the tide continues to turn against the Zionists. More and more people are waking up, as I'm going to show some stats on that at the close tonight, of what percentage of countries have a favorable or unfavorable view of Israel. The tide is internationally turning. It's turning domestically. You're seeing for the first time in my life, almost half of Republican people are even condemning Israel. They've taken it too far. So what better way to whip up that sympathy? Here it comes. How convenient. So again, the dust hasn't settled on this. We're only going with what they've gave us so far. It could be obviously a lot more. So again, we are expected to take responsibility for this. But yet no Christian, no atheist. I mean, there's people who are worshipers of the earth. And you see them all the time setting forest fires, trying to burn down people's houses because they say the housing is stealing from nature. You know, do they ever go out and paint all environmentalists in this light? Do they ever require an environmentalist to go on camera and say, hey, look, I'm sorry for what that nut job did? But only us. We are expected to defend or, you know, go away from this. And of course I condemn it. This guy's a dirtbag. If what's said is true, lock him up, execute him. I don't care. He attacked children. He's attacking people who have nothing. Yeah, they're supporting Israel, but they're not actually the ones doing the raids. They're not the ones dropping the bombs. Again, this is a useless attack. This guy really consciously did this and planned it. He is a moron, you know, because you're not going to accomplish anything by doing this except for hurting innocent people. You are going to get the language banned, as we're going to talk about here in a minute. You're going to continue to make Islam look in a favorable light. There's an unfavorable light. There's no advantages at all to doing this. But again, we're supposed to take responsibility. And they'll always say, well, Muslims didn't condemn it. I'll be the first that I'll always come out and say, yes, I condemn this. But at the same time, I shouldn't have to, because this guy doesn't represent me. I don't care if he's got a Muslim name. His behavior is not consistent with our teachings. So already on cue, immediately, there were cries from you-know-who, the media, filled with journalists, I'm sure, like Mr. Glenn Greenwald, and they're saying, let's label Free Palestine as a terrorist chant and a hate crime. Now, this hate crime thing is a whole other story altogether. When this thing came out years ago, I said this is for one purpose, it's to silence. It is to attack whites, which has been used and weaponized against whites. You see oftentimes white people beat by people who are chanting non-white slogans. They don't get charged with a hate crime. But if someone comes up and says death to Israel is a hate crime, even if he didn't commit a crime. So we can see it's been used to silence, been used to intimidate people basically who are undesirables. And now they're adding in, or trying to add in, Palestine, Free Palestine, as a hate crime. Very, very scary stuff. So again, you see how the game works. And if you're familiar with me, you've been here with me week after week, I've outlined it. So they denied stealing the land for almost a century. We uncovered in 9 hours how they did. We covered it all, from the beginnings all the way up to the 70s, how they stole the land, how they broke the international agreements, how the Palestinian people were given, you know, just sold a whole bowl full of lies. They tried to remove the name. You know, like, so first it was like, oh, no, we never did that. Rightfully belongs to us with the promise of Abraham, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it. Little Israel trying to survive. Then they try to remove the name. You know, Palestine cannot be used. It's not in the maps anymore. They just completely erased it. You know, Palestine's not found in any school. In America, if you go to the maps, the geography, it's not there. So you remove that. And now even saying they have a right to having a state, you know, is considered to be a terrorist chant. So this, again, is just how they incrementally move up. You're also seeing, predictably, that representatives are out there calling to stand with Israel. Another clever trick. See what this horrific guy did? We should excuse the bloodlust that's taking place in Gaza just because this guy was bad. And it's like, that's how they play with people's minds. This guy is a horrible piece of garbage. But we are not going to allow them to use this to pretend the Zionists aren't doing in Gaza what they're doing. Both are condemnable. But the big difference is, on one hand, you have a lone nut. On the other hand, you have a sponsored and funded government. That's a big, big difference. Any nut job out there can do a random, you know, a variety of things. But we're talking about sanctioned government attacks. That is a big difference. It's not the same. But they're going to use this. Oh, look, that guy, if you believe in Palestinian rights, statehood to their own land that they've had for centuries, you're with that guy. You want to see children burn with a flamethrower. They are the masters of emotion and how to play that emotion. They'll show those clips and they'll just link Palestinian support with that guy. Very, very clever. And like I said, it is very, very convenient. And then without fail, the liberal media did what they always do initially until it's too hard to hide. They try to blame white people for this. I mean, what? I mean, how do we even get, to this point? But MSNBC and usual, they're comical. I mean, MSNBC is even worse than CNN. They came out and called him a white immigrant. Like initially, if you've seen this gentleman, I don't think he's what anyone would describe as a Caucasian person, but without fail, they're going to try to do that initially. It was a white guy. Let's ban white men, go after white men some more. They're anti-Semitic. Let's silence them and all of these things. Can't leave that one out. And then now, coming up this Tuesday, they are set to vote in the House on basically making blasphemy, not making blasphemy laws, but making Free Palestine an anti-Semitic slogan. So it's going to be labeled as hate speech. And I have a feeling it's going to pass because this is how they do it. They take it when the iron is hot and they feed it. They slip that agenda right in there on you. And before you know it, flying a Palestinian flag, like you can't fly a Palestinian flag in good old Saudi Arabia, they'll take it and arrest you. Here now in America, the land of the free, land of free speech, here it goes again. And they've used Islam and played Muslims like a fiddle over the last couple decades here because they've gotten Muslims to promote blasphemy laws in the UK, all over Europe. Muslims are calling for removals of speech on anti-Islamic attacks and Quran burnings. Again, we in a Muslim society would never permit such things. But in the West, if you ban on that one, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get limited blasphemy laws on Islam or Christianity. And you're going to get this, where anyone who says, okay, wait, the majority of the pornography directors are of Jewish origin, hate speech. The majority of the media moguls and media companies happen to be of a certain demographic, hate speech. And that's very scary. That's why I'm against blasphemy laws in the West. I let the Christians do what they want to do. I don't care. It's between them and the law. I don't watch the content. It's not my problem. They're clowns, most of them, not worthy of any of our attention. But I don't want to have my voice silenced when I'm pointing out who's doing this. And that's where it's going to go. And they've used Muslims and these phony leaders to come out here and advocate for this, where you know exactly where it's going to end up. Like an example, Sweden. Sweden is now saying they're going to ban religious schools because they don't want to have blasphemy against Muslims by Christians, and they want everybody to be Swedish. But guess who's exempt from those bans? If you guessed Judaism, you'd be correct. Jewish schools can still continue to exist because of anti-Semitism. They have a right to stay in their own community, but yet Christians and Muslims will share the same schools, and they'll have a secular education. Women will not be allowed to wear the hijab. Christian boys will not be allowed to wear the cross, but yet those people can still have their own school. This is where it's going. It's where it always goes. And we're seeing again here. And to move on to one of the last, it's kind of a side topic here I wanted to talk about because I saw this early in the week getting all over social media, and this is affecting a Muslim country and kind of reflects the state of the Ummah. We had basically a Indian gentleman, Hindu, who was living in Turkey. He was a migrant. We're going to get to Turkey's situation. It's very dire, just like the West here as well. And he'd been doing a series of videos where he was mocking Turkish people. He was talking about Turkish women, in a derogatory way. In fact, he even went as far as to say that he wanted to rape the tour guide. She was cute. There was another one, sorry, that was another guy that was affiliated with the main one. But you're seeing that these Hindu bloggers are doing these videos mocking the Turkish people, mocking their women, calling their women all kinds of derogatory names. And this is a gentleman, again, and it sums up the problem in the West. The Turks are dealing with the same thing. He came to this country to live. He came there to work. Turkey did not go there and bring a red carpet and roll it out for him. They didn't airlift him there like the West does, where they go actually into these areas and bring them over here. He chose to come to Turkey, And what is he doing? He is spending time bashing the country that he came to. And of course, you know what's in order, what he should get. He should get a one-way ticket back to India. Obviously, if you don't like it here, you don't like the Muslims, you don't like the Turkish people, go home. I don't think the Turkish people are going to miss you. Now, with some Pakistani brothers who knew who he was, and they turned him in, and he's been detained by Turkish authorities. And like I said, he should be getting a one-way ticket back to India. So again, but a lot of disturbing aspects from this came to light is the main reason I'm covering it. Why are Turkish women in a Muslim country being so open, spending so much time mingling with foreigners? Because all these videos of this guy had Turkish women all around him who were there by choice. They were not forced. You know, these are women who were openly commingling with this guy. These are supposed to be Muslim women, and they're gravitating toward a Hindu foreigner who is in their country, has no respect. He's mocking their men. He's mocking their history. He's calling them names. And because they're so craving of attention and this being modern and this dopamine release of being on camera and being famous, they're allowing themselves to just be degraded and humiliated. He's calling them all sorts of derogatory terms. And he's like Andrew Tate, surrounded, you know, like by women. And these are Muslim women. You know, if it was in the West, it wouldn't be so alarming. But the fact that this is Muslim women are doing this is just disgusting. And like I said, there was another one. He was walking with the girls, a Turkish tour guide, and he was asking his audience in YouTube, who YouTube will ban you for talking bad about COVID. They were kicking people off the platform left and right for exposing that lie. YouTube will ban you for just about anything these days. They didn't ban this guy. He was asking his audience, should I go rape her? You know, she's cute, why not? You know, this type of thing, again, to a Muslim woman. And the downfall of Turkey is taking place in real time, much like the West, due to mass integration and the adoption of liberal policies. And as I talked about before with birth rates, let's just wring this out a little bit. The birth rate in Turkey fell to 1.47 per woman in 2024. Every year, it has been declining over the last decade. Turkey is also breaking records for their divorce rates. They are getting divorced at higher and higher rates. It's the same thing you're seeing in the West. The women are being liberated as they think. They're divorcing their husbands. You're seeing them not having kids. They're pursuing material gains and luxuries. And this was the former head of the Khalifa. This was the Ottomans. This was a powerful Islamic empire, good and bad. You know, but this is a fall of a Muslim state. It mirrors everything we're seeing in Saudi Arabia, what we're seeing in the Emirates. Birth rates down, divorces up, women being more and more promiscuous, hijabs are gone. There was even a video I saw recently where there was a Turkish Islamic you say presenter, if you will, and he was going out and asking young Turkish boys, could they even recite Surah Fatiha? Most of them could not do it. And he cried at the end of the video because he's just like, what's happening here? Just, again, total destruction. So you know where this goes. If you've been following me, that's how they do it. They market the liberalism. They liberate your females through feminism. They break up the family. The birth rates drop. Then what do they tell you? Sorry, buddy, you need immigrants. And the government starts bringing in the immigrants by the truckloads. In the United States, we're bringing them in by the cargo ship loads. England, everywhere, the same thing. But you're seeing, again, here, a place you don't really associate with immigration is now being flooded. Almost 8% of Turkey's total population is immigrant. It's like they're losing their character. They're losing their nation. You got guys like this, you know, coming in. And this Indian migrant, he was so confident, like they are in the West, to say these things on camera. They have no problem doing it. You can go to Twitter and see the Indians all the time telling you, we're taking over your jobs. We're not going to hire you. And that's true if you look at their hiring practices. It's not lying. But that's just how confident they are in saying these things. They speak with disdain for the countries that they live in. And most importantly, the people. Again, you hate the Turkish people. Why are you here? You hate Islam. Why are you here? It's the same reason they come to America when they hate us. It's for economic exploitation. But at least the Turkish authorities in this story did apparently act, and most likely he's going to be deported for indecency, sent back to India where he belongs. But again, if this happened in the West, he'd be called a victim. You'd hear cries about the injustices that caused him to think that way. They blame us. They say we're just so horrible to him that he looked at our women, he looked at our society, our religion that way. We owe him money. And the Western governments will probably give him money. They probably say, sir, we violated your civil liberties. You know, here's a house and here's some unlimited food stamps. It's just a joke, but at least there's some sanity, you know, left in Turkey. Now, again, to make this a little bit clear, I talked about, I was going to reference this earlier. And when you want to look at what kind of people they're letting in by letting in these Indian migrants, I want to look now at, these are the favorability ratings for Israel globally. Now, when I cite a number, that's the percent of the population that views the state of Israel as unfavorable. So it's not the positive, it's the unfavorable. So Turkey as a whole, 97% view Israel unfavorably. The 3%, it's safe to say, they're the liberal Turks and the immigrants. We're going to get to who the immigrants are. Again, we talked about that Indian gentleman. Japan, 79% unfavorable. Netherlands, 78%. Spain, 75%. This is very positive for the Ummah, positive for the awakening. Greece, 72%. Italy, 66%. Germany, 64%. Lots of propaganda and brainwashing has gone on for half a century in Germany. That's why the number is not as high as it should be. France, 63%, big liberal country there. It's kind of surprising France isn't higher with the amount of Muslim immigrants they have. And the French people typically used to be Catholic Christian, which is always kind of, they're not the Zio Christians you see in the West. So that was a bit surprising. Poland, 62%, United Kingdom, 61%, South Korea, unfavorable, 60%, Canada, 60%, United States, 53%. That number used to be, when I grew up, it was like 25%. So we are seeing a lot of positive. But now let's get to the last one. India, 29%. And I guarantee that they're the good Muslim brothers that we do have in India. 29%. That means almost, probably safe to say, when you match that to the total Muslim population, it's pretty much only the Muslims in India. It's like the rest of the Hindus are almost 100%. They love the state of Israel. And a Muslim country is like, hey, come on in, buddy. Welcome in. And then you're surprised when he curses you. You're surprised when he curses your women. You're surprised when he speaks about you with disdain. You think, when you look at numbers like this, the only major country with a high favorable rating for Israel is India. Indian migration has caused problems in the masses wherever it has gone. You look at the destruction of Canada. You know, why are Muslim countries going on this same suicidal path? Have they not learned from the West, or are their leadership all in it the same as ours are? I think you could pretty much guess by now the answer to that. It's about demographic destruction. It's about wage destruction. It's about quality of life destruction. It's a race to the bottom. These elite, they love what India is. They love seeing less than 1% up here in palaces owning everything, while the rest of the masses live in squalor and dilapidated buildings and huts. They love that. And they're dreaming to bring it here. And they've already brought it to parts of Canada, to the UK, and it's coming to the United States as well, because these people work for next to nothing, which suppresses the wages. To do it to Turkey, it's done it to England, it's done it to America. I've seen it firsthand in Saudi Arabia, the way they killed profession after profession because of, you know, how low they're willing to work. A lot of that has to do with the currency conversion. So again, imagine what kind of person would have a favorable view towards Israel. I mean, you just have to be either brainwashed, which will give you a pardon on that. Maybe you haven't been exposed to information. That's the case in a lot of Westerners. They really don't know. Or in your heart, you are just evil. Because there is no way anyone can say that Israel has stood for anything good in its history. It's been nothing but war. It's been nothing but tyranny. It's never helped any nations when it came to aid. You know, you look at every time there's a natural disaster and a hurricane, go look at how much money Israel is donating to these countries. Next to nothing. You know, what positive mark has that place left on humanity? If you're someone who supports it, you've got a blackness in your heart, and that's just not even, that's fact. No other conclusion, you know, can be drawn from that besides, like I said earlier, being misled. being brainwashed, not having all the information. But to have a result that high is disturbing. And these are not people that any Muslim nation should be welcoming in. It is a one-way, it's a suicide. You just go ahead and load the bullets and press and trigger the gun. You know, that's it. You're marching to your own funeral pyre at this point. So very disturbing connection there. So I'm going to close with the news for the week on that. Next week, as promised, inshallah, we will start the Synagogue of Satan series, where we are going to chronicle the rise of these people, how they got where they got, all the tricks along the way. We're going to introduce to a lot of historical figures, lots of things you probably don't know, lots of things maybe you do know, but we're going to connect a lot of dots, and we're going to begin that series. And once we begin it, I don't know how long it's going to be. It is going to be quite a few weeks, definitely, maybe not as long as the Palestine series, or maybe around the same length. So we're going to be turning to that and really chronicling this journey. We're going to go on a long, strange journey full of manipulation, backroom deals, and ultimately subversion, how they were able to take over these societies and get to the position they're in today, to where they're about to ban the saying Free Palestine, where they control our money, they control our media, and they pretty much run this world. And we're going to go through that very long and strange and eerie, untold tale of history. So we got time for questions. I'm open. I think Sister Layla goes on an hour, so we do have a little bit of wiggle room here. So questions, comments, I'm here to answer. Sister Layla?
Sister Layla may be streaming. Yeah. Are there any questions in Zoom?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
One of the questions I have is, where do you begin? Where do you start? I mean, on our side, in researching or investigating where these people get their ideas or power to overrun these countries that are being just totally overtaken. You know?
We're going to give a lot of study material in that series, lots of individuals to look up, lots of facts of history to look into. It will be a study guide. Obviously, if we went into full detail on every topic, we'd be here all year. But hopefully with that series, power that long. But what they have done, they've left their mark, unprecedented mark on human history. And we're going to be really going through that and seeing it. And hopefully at the end of that, you'll really know, okay, we're going to research this guy, we'll research that event. I want to understand this, and go a little bit more in detail and really start to understand the full picture of how we got here and why you're seeing all the same policies simultaneously being implemented all over the world with the same results. The same way I talked about what's happening in Turkey. That's why I wanted to focus on it today near the end, is because it's the same story we get in America, except for it's Muslim versus Christian over here. You go to the average Christian in America and ask them what's in the Gospel of Mark. They're not going to be able to tell you. Just like that religious leader, social figure, went to the average Turkish teen and they couldn't even recite Fatiha. The same way they've stripped the culture away from the Christians here, they're stripping the culture away from the Muslims there. And you're being left with nothing but hollowness. Nikes, Puma, Adidas, music, all the different junk out there, sports. I mean, these have become the culture. Islam's gone, Christianity's gone, the knowledge is bare. Nothing, not even the basics, not even Fatiha does the average Turkish teen seem to know.
Seems like we have a lot of work to do.
Yep, individual, family. Most we can do, public outreach, working with community. We're just too fractured. And that's why I do a lot of the racial stuff that I do here, because I want people to start to see the things and then take it back to their masjid and stop it. Like when you see certain demographic groups taking control of the boards, where nobody else except for that demographic group is able to run or administer these masjids, we rise up and we stop these things. It's like it's too big, it's permeating every aspect of our culture. We're too divided. The nationalism, tribalism, the racialism, all these different things dividing us, and we can't even get along to mobilize.
And how on the media, the media seems to, especially Western media, seems to have how do they, twist the minds of the homes and schools and.
It's a top-down system. This viewpoint will start in the media. It permeates down, and then you have, of course, the Rockefellers. They took control of school textbooks very early on. So what's taught in the schools comes through them, as well. Like an example of what the Rockefellers did with the medical education is that teaching about Allah's cures, the cures that Allah gave, your herbs and your treatments, all that stuff is thrown out and replaced with petrol-based synthetic drugs. So if you go to med school, you learn that, that herb stuff is stupid. This is what medicine's at. This is what I need to learn. This is what the college taught. And it's like we get a system called repeaters. People just mindlessly repeat things, without even actually analyzing what they're repeating. It's like how human beings can kind of be programmed, like a wind-up toy. Wind them up and just let them go, and they'll just repeat the same rhetoric, over and over again. Like I remember this growing up, Israel's our greatest ally. Israel's our greatest ally. People would say that. Well, can you tell me, sir, how are they our greatest ally? When any major hurricane came, how much help did they send? Did they send any aid? Have they done anything positive for the United States? I give you many examples of them attacking the United States, but I can't think of many positive examples. And I did a whole lecture on this right after October 7th, a few years ago, called Israel America's Greatest Ally with question mark, asking people to ask themselves that question. An ally, a good friend, is someone where there's reciprocal in the relationship. You give and you take, you help and you receive help. But where's the relationship? Is there any give back? I mean, and one of these people out here, like I said, who blindly repeating that things, ask yourself that question. Go and look it up. What are they giving us back? What have we ever gotten back? But that's just the type of stuff that they do. Just repeat, 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 repeat. You don't even think about it. You hear it from the time you're a 5-year-old, from television, you hear it from the teacher, done. There's a reason they wanted education publicly. I mean, I've talked about that on here in the past, is that it was part of the Communist Manifesto, is getting children to be wards of the state, to where the state raises them more than the parent does. So the parent is not as powerless to stop the onslaught of the young mind with just false ideas and deviant ideas and dangerous ideas. Any questions, comments?
Alhamdulillah. The people here are just saying how, Anissa, turn off your mic. The people here are just saying how much they have enjoyed the topics here and the discussion here, alhamdulillah. How they really enjoyed it. It was very informative, very good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I want people to realize, the homosexual agenda is not going anywhere. They've taken this agenda from don't ask, don't tell to allow everything in less than 30 years. And it's infiltrating Islam. I've seen this many times locally. You'll see Muslim girls with rainbow flags on the hijab. It's becoming, more and more. And these imams are signing off for it. I exposed those imams, some of them, a few months ago, at the beginning of the year. Some of your Hamza Yusuf types, who go out there and advocate for this stuff. And it ain't going anywhere. We know who we're dealing with here. When they try to sell us these lies, we have statistics. We know what they're doing. We know what they're engaged in. These are not moral, wholesome people. these are in most cases are degenerates. You know, people with mental health issues, suicide rates in the community are through the roof.
Exactly.
Drug dependency, it's through the roof.
Exactly. That's just pathetic. You know, when you see the Muslims are imitating the non-Muslims this way, it's just so sad, you know, but this is what we've become, you know. This is what we have become. We're, instead of us being like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said and be distinct, we're supposed to stand out and make the difference, be that black crow with the red beak. We're blending in, trying to be accepted by the non-Muslims and become like them, to the point, like you said, you see a Muslim girl with a rainbow pride bandana. Astaghfirullah, this is such a sad thing. Any other comments?
I just wish people had, you know, like, I thank God every day that I just have a I don't give a bleep attitude, you could say. I don't care what people think about me. I like being the bad guy. So fitting in was never an obstacle for me. If I went against what the masses were saying, I look at it as a badge of honor. And I just wish that more people could develop that confidence that in themselves, in their Islam, to just not care. If you're the bad guy, so what? That means you're doing your job right. Don't take offense to it. Be strong. Who cares?
Exactly.
You know, what people think. Don't care. I mean, if I'm hated, great. I'll thank the person for hating me. It means I'm doing right. I'm doing good God's work. You know? Because the shaitan's always going to hate you when you're doing God's work.
Exactly. Anybody else want to contribute? Anybody from Bigo has anything to say? Brother Gotti, would you like to contribute? Okay, anybody else from Zoom?
Yes, I need to.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on, go ahead. Zoom, go ahead. Brother Haitham, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, bro.
Eid Mubarak, Eid Mubarak for everybody.
Mubarak.
I just want to say thank you very much about this information. And I would like to add that the masjid and khutbah every Friday, they should at least take 5 minutes and talk about it, explain to the youth, to the young people and to the parents, and explain to them you need to talk about it at home. Like you need to really talk to your children and your daughters and sons. And they are growing in front of you in home. You need to explain to them why this kind of action is haram. And we need to be careful because there is a private meetings for this type of organizations to advertise for their own dirty, filthy agenda. And we need to really educate ourselves as a parents, as a teachers, as imams, as people responsible for community, to not to forget to talk about it. Like if you do a speech, take at least 5-7 minutes, explain it in a professional way. Because everybody is afraid to talk about it. If I tell imam to talk about it, oh, I lose my job. Why are you afraid about it? Are they like, why you are so afraid to talk about it? Unless you don't know how to address it up in a legal way, that if you are afraid from legal actions, then go learn how to talk about it. And you legally you are okay because you have the right to talk. You have the right for your free of speech. You're allowed to talk about it. We are North America. You're allowed to say your opinion, but you need to learn how to say it in a professional way and say, this is our faith. It's a faith. It's a faith. This is not allowed. It's our religion. In the Quran, Hadith, and everything, scholars, they told us, they teach us about it. So, and we don't, like, we need really to use a professional language to the youth because we have to be on their side and support them emotionally, and we have to explain it in a wisdom way, evidence, and we have to gain knowledge. We have to also, myself, I advise myself before everybody that I need to learn how to talk about it to the youth. I talk about it to non-Muslim. For now, my co-worker is non-Muslim. And when I talk to them, and we don't share the same religion, they agree with me that this is human, man, woman. It doesn't work. They agreed about it, and they are not even Muslim. So what about Muslim who has Quran, Kareem, and Hadith Sharif? how come we cannot really lose control over our Muslim children and youth? It's a shame on us that we don't have knowledge, skills to talk to them, and we are not really saying that it needs, like, I need your advice. What is your view about it? Like, what we can say to our local imam and local school and local community members who had gatherings and they sit and talk about everything except this subject.
Well, that's a very good question. For me personally, I gave up. And I've talked to people about that many times. I mentioned it inside. I don't socialize with the local community here because of the fact that, you know, you just can't. There's no connection there. I like what you were saying about talking to the kids. That's what we have to be responsible. Most of these imams, the bigger ones, are going to be controlled. They're following an agenda, whether it's like they're paid to do that or it's another benefit for them. And I covered that in the past too, of all the different layers of this, the different types of imams, whether they're doing this as an agent, whether they're doing this as an adapter, whether there's someone who just doesn't want to lose their spot, you know. And it's really, you're not going to get anywhere with most of them. This journey and battle is in the home. It's with the family. And you mentioned something there when you were talking about things being haram. And when I lived overseas in the Gulf, I did not like the way they taught Islam in Saudi Arabia. I felt they taught Islam almost in a way that it's haram, don't even question why it's haram. It's almost presented in a way like God is the bad guy, Allah is the bad guy, and he's trying to take away all your fun. So what were the Saudis doing? They were running to Bahrain every week to engage in every sin known to man, because they weren't teaching them that Allah doesn't make anything haram because it's good for you. He's making things haram because it will destroy you. And when we talk to our kids, that's got to be the way I feel personally, from my opinion, that we should do it. That's the way I always talk, is that there's a reason drugs are haram. They're not good. I mean, being addicted to crystal meth, cocaine, alcohol will destroy you. It will destroy your health. You ever see anyone with cirrhosis of the liver? It destroys your brain, your functionality, gets you in trouble with the law. Nothing good comes out of it. You never hear a success story of someone saying, I owe all my success to drinking every day. I mean, you won't hear those stories, or I'm a successful Fortune 500 heroin addict. I mean, you don't find successful people abusing drugs. And as we highlighted tonight with homosexuality, these people have high suicide rates, high drug rates. Homosexual men live 10 to 15 years on average less than heterosexual men. They die young, a variety of diseases. Allah made homosexuality haram because it's not good for you. There's nothing good for you that Allah made haram. You know, promiscuous sex is not good for you. Women having multiple partners, it destroys pair bonding. It destroys the ability to form a relationship with someone. There's a lot of not genetic, but physical factors of being promiscuous also are in play between males and females as well that break you down. Sexually transmitted diseases. It's like Allah never took a good thing away from us, you know, and it's like, I feel too often, I've seen this with my own eyes. Haram, haram, it is, don't question it. No, let's explain why things are haram. Let's give them a total picture of this. Allah's not a dictator. He's our most lovable, you know, companion because they support him. You know, he loves us when we do good deeds. He created us. And, you know, again, it's like never would he give us, you know, something that was bad or take something that was good. Never. And that's the way I think we got to teach the haram aspect to our young people and let them understand why they shouldn't be doing these things. Look at the statistics. Like, we could even share those things. When you see the wrecking of the family, the low birth rates, they're at extinction levels in some Western societies now. No one's reproducing. I covered a few months ago with feminism. I showed the effects on women. They're all on happy pills now. They're all living miserable lives, lonely lives. You know, none of these things provide an ounce of benefit. And we have a full case study in the decline of the West that we can use to show our youth, particularly our teenagers, that this is a destructive path, not something to go on. No, I'm sorry, I went on too long. That's a long, long topic there.
One more question for me. How do we finally, how do we stop or fight this fast track, I'll call it fast track adoption, which are destroying many families and many children who are being adopted by trans. You know what I'm saying?
It's terrible. It is. Like I said, I was wanting to cry. I felt nothing but rage when I saw what they did to that mentally ill boy. That Russian boy had lost his family. I mean, he never saw any amount of love. And you give him to these two homosexual deviants, these two shaitan agents, and they sodomized him repeatedly. I mean, all this boy knew was pain, you know, and they all have a place for him, obviously, inshallah. And, you know, they passed him around to their friends. And it's like, how, as a sane society, can we allow young boys to be in the care of homosexual men? I mean, it's really, and that's something I wish I had an answer for, how we stop it. Civil disobedience, being good parents and taking care of our own children, leaving less out there to be adopted. But we have to have something. In the future, protesting, whatever it may be, civil disobedience. This has to stop. There's some steps in the right direction. Inshallah, people are waking up now. The lies are not working anymore. Like I remember decades ago when they were talking about the scoutmasters being gay and young boys going out in the woods, camping out with a gay scoutmaster. And the liberals, as always, they said, oh, you're just a bunch of bigots. You know, just because he's gay, he's not going to touch a young boy. And then you would ask them, well, would you want your daughter going in the woods with a handsome young man who's like 27 and she's 13? Would you want that? And the parents were like, no, that's different. You know, it was always kind of comical to me. And then you saw almost immediately the homosexual scoutmasters were molesting the boys. It was almost on cue. You know, it was inevitable that was what was going to happen. And they made people like me look crazy for a decade before finally the evidence came out. And you're seeing it kind of being phased out. But this adoption thing is a problem. It's not just even with gays. It's just like giving children to families that have no business raising, you know, a child. They're not capable. They don't have the means morally. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's problematic. It's sad. And no sane society would put. And even you're seeing sometimes the lesbians, they're adopting young boys and turning them trans, which is just as bad. They're getting these young boys because they hate men. They want to take a man and turn him into a woman. And they give them the hormone injections at young ages. And they ruin this boy's chance of ever being a father, taking away his very essence of a man, not being able to father children because they've given them so many of these estrogen injections. It's just horrible stuff. And we obviously as Muslims condemn it. And we have to be the light on the nations. And unfortunately, because we've been controlled by these phony social media personalities, these fake imams, we're not really living up to our true potential as being those spiritual guides. We're here to lead people out of darkness. And standing up for protesting, like I said, cleaning our own house first, but wish I had more answers of how we can stop that.
Here's another question to Zoom. The brother recommends give some information on Illuminati and Freemasons. How does it affect our Muslim homes?
Well, that's coming up in the Zionist. Freemasons, Illuminati, and Zionists are one and the same. It's just different, like having different, your right finger, your pointer finger, it's all the hand, It's very similar. Adam Weishaupt, who founded the Illuminati, was a Zionist. So, you find the very founding of the Illuminati was a Zionist. Masonry and Judaism have gone hand in hand, Kabbalah. And, yeah, that's all going to come in our Zionist takeover, Synagogue of Satan. Like I said, you'll see that Freemasons, Illuminati, all the different names for these guys, call them Rome, all of them are the same people, just different names. But yeah, Adam Weishaupt, Zionist, founder of the Illuminati, that's all you need to know, of who they are. And yeah, that will be included, of course. We'll be going to explore some dark paths.
Okay, alhamdulillah. I think that's all the questions that we have for today. And brother Yusef, mashallah, this was a very, very, very great topic. We are glad that you're back on track because you always handle your stuff best on your own anyway. Alhamdulillah.
Well, yeah, I'm now settled into my job, so I've gotten so much work done down there that I have more free time when I'm off to build again, collect things, and I started already writing next week's. I'll be working on it on Sunday this week, inshallah, finishing up part 1. So it'll be quite long, but we're going to go through a lot. So
that's good. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining and participating in this session of Real Talk. And again, for those of you who are new, this is held every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Brother Yusef who joins to give us the week's news in review. And I want to remind everybody that inshallah, at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, my class, my Islam Q&A class will be held. That's another 30 minutes from now. So we have a 30-minute break, inshallah. Then I'll be back streaming for the Islam Q&A. And Sheikh Morsi, inshallah, will be on standby if there's a question about something that I cannot answer. So subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. See you guys at 9:30. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Alhamdulillah.